All right. So welcome to another Beta Alpha Psi meeting, everyone. Glad that everyone can join us. We have people from EY here to talk to us this evening. But first, I'm going to have a few announcements. So we have, with the semester wrapping up, we have some community service events coming up. So we're going to be doing volunteering at the Heart of Phoenix Horse Rescue Ranch. And so that is going to be on November 7th. There will be a form emailed out to all the students for them to sign up for specific time periods. That way we're not, all there as a group, and it is going to be outside on the farm. So pro tips, wear clothes and shoes. You don't mind if they get dirty. And also bring a mask or face covering just in case we can't properly social distance. That way we can all be protective and we won't have to hopefully deal with the madness of COVID. Along with that, we're also going to be doing a book drive. So if you come to the Heart of Phoenix, please bring some books to donate for a book drive. We're hoping to get 100 books. So if everyone could bring about 10 books or 5 books or so, depending on how many people show up, we'll get that 100 books. And so it's children books, I believe, which are usually relatively cheap if you have to go out and buy them. If you've got some, from your childhood or from little cousins or children in your family, then we will take those and that will go to the national umbrella organization of Beta Alpha Psi for their community service this year. And another community service project we've got going on, we've got all the community service happening in November, but we're also going to be writing letters to the Wayne County Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. So an email will be sent out with the details on that as well. But with COVID and the visitation policies, a lot of the residents aren't able to have much communication with their family, their community members, people that normally come in and do little things with them, like play music, dance, do manicures, things like that. There are people who do that on a regular basis who are not able to right now. So a lot of them, their only communication with the outside world is through mail. And some of them don't get very much of it, sadly. So we're going to be writing letters to the Wayne Nursing Home residents. And like I said, all of this will be sent to you in an email or two because it is a lot to process. But anyway, so watch your emails for more details on community service. And now let's learn about some stuff from EY.
All right. Hello, everybody. Happy to be with you all today. I think some of us are former Beta Alpha Psi members. Just a brief overview today. I don't want to steal too much from the presentation that John and Cole and Taylor are going to go through. We're just going to hit high level, a little bit about EY for those of you that maybe haven't heard of us or didn't get a chance to speak with us during any of the previous events. And then we'll talk a little bit high level about auditing at EY and some data analytics stuff, which is kind of seeming to be the way of the future as audits are going. At any time, I don't know how you guys monitor this, but if you have questions, I guess you use the raise hand function and we can try and monitor that, or maybe somebody already does. We obviously don't want to sit here and read slides to you the whole time. So if you guys have questions about audit, life at EY, any of the topics we cover, anything about transition from student to professional life, just any questions you have in general, we encourage you to ask those. We'd rather this be a conversation than just a presentation. And it's a good time to ask questions. We don't have a recruiter around us. You get the unfiltered truth, not what the firm tells you to say. So I always encourage questions during this time. Just a brief background about myself. I'm a senior 3 at EY, been with the firm for 5 years. I think did 2 internships, 1 summer and a part-time winter with the firm. And as the slide says, it started in 16. I've worked on governmental entities. I've worked on small private clients in the oil and gas sector. And my main client is Natural Resource Partners in Huntington, West Virginia. Pass off to Taylor.
Hi, I'm Taylor Workman. I'm a senior one with EY. I've been a senior one since October 1st. I started with EY in September of 2018. I'm also a Marshall grad, and I was a BAP member when I was at Marshall. And I studied and took my CPA exams while working my staff 1 year. Passed all of those by November 2019. And I've been on public, private, and governmental clients. And I used to be on Natural Resource Partners with Nathan, and now I'm more on the state of West Virginia.
All right. Hey, guys. My name's John. I got my bachelor's and master's degrees in accounting from the University of Kentucky, and I've been with EY since summer 2018, so a little over 2 years now. Have my CPA license in both West Virginia and Kentucky. I was able to knock that out while doing my master's degree, which was nice. Similar to Taylor, I promoted to senior on October 1st, so definitely getting used to that new role. Client experience, I've worked a lot in the energy sector, both like oil and gas and coal, in both like public and private companies, and also a little bit of governmental as well.
Hi guys, my name is Cole Rucker. As it says, I graduated from Marshall in 2018 in December to be exact. I got my bachelor's. I was BAP member during my time there. Joined EY in September of 2019, so I've been there a little over a year. I got promoted to staff 2 as of October 1st. I've worked on public, private, and governmental clients. I started out in the financial sector, working on a bank, and then I transferred over to the private side, and have since moved over to the governmental side, with my primary client being the state of West Virginia.
And so I'll go over these first few slides. So our purpose with audit, as you can see, is building a better working world by inspiring confidence and trust. So we're all in audit in assurance. There's several different practices within assurance. So we have audit, financial accounting advisory services, forensic and integrity services, and like a 10X accelerator team. I will say in Charleston, we're all pretty much just audit. We have FSO, which is auditing banks, but that's more Pittsburgh and other cities. It's an exciting time to be a part of audit because our business is strong, and even with the global pandemic, like we haven't had to have any COVID-related layoffs. And we have a promise to provide exceptional client service. So we, throughout this pandemic, we've stayed connected and responsive with our clients by having Teams meetings or Zoom calls and emailing and trying to stay connected with them. And we build personal relationships with them that we carry throughout. When you're at EY or after you leave EY, like you keep those connections. And we act with confidence and courage. That's kind of our go-to saying. And then our digital and innovative story, we stay innovative. So we really embrace change. I think my husband's locked out of my apartment. So that's why it's beeping. So I think I need to get that really quick. So if you guys want to hop in for a second while I let him.
I can take this over a little bit. Like you said, we have multiple practices within the audit division. Financial accounting advisory service is kind of like just transaction services, whether it be acquiring a business or a lot of areas that require judgment, like impairment or the new credit law standard that was released. Just areas that are more complicated and require more judgment. You can specify in an area and go into transaction services. The 10X accelerator stuff, kind of like we'll talk about in a little bit. We have a whole team that processes company data and puts it all into one analyzer that we'll talk about a little later. And all in all, our job in audit is to use all this data that we, review from time to time and over the year, and build relationships with clients and maybe offer some insights that without our tools that they couldn't even necessarily see themselves. So since Taylor's back, I'll let her continue on.
Sorry about that. Thanks, Nathan. If you want to go on to the next slide. So the audit of the future is now, like Nathan was getting into, we have like these machines like Excel and our Helix, which is our data analytics tool. These tools are not going to like take over our job. They're just going to help us, so we don't have to do as much work that you don't have to think about. It's just like minute tasks. So you have to like critically think more and think about the bigger picture of things. John's going to get into the data analytics more later, more in detail, but we're really embracing that. And a career in audit is a differentiator. I had a tax internship when I was in college, and it was good. Like, I didn't mind it, but I will say that I do like audit better because you kind of see the business inside and out for your clients, and you get like an understanding of business. So you're more business savvy and you have an analytical mindset. So like audit is kind of more, it's like a puzzle. Like you have to kind of figure out why things are, and you develop like technical knowledge, and you have a lot of connections with your clients and with your teammates. So you're always working in a team, and that helps with your career in your future, whether you stay in audit in public accounting or go into the private sector later. And with EY, you get exposure to world-class clients. So we have some pretty big clients since we're a Big Four. And like I said before, you get business savvy, you learn the business language, and you get exposed to capital markets and transactions and IPOs, and you get a real innovative mindset, because you'll realize like if you don't innovate and continue to innovate, your business won't do well. You have to embrace the change. And you get an analytical mindset. We're really moving towards analytics, which helps us ask better questions. That's another one of our sayings. So we use advanced tools and technology to interpret our business's data. And like I said, John will get into more of the details with that. I'll hand it off to Cole from here. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Yeah, so let's pause here and see if anybody's got any questions about services or any of the slides, or wants to know anything about audit versus tax. I myself have had a tax internship and worked in audit. So just want to pause and give everybody an opportunity to ask some questions.
I guess, can we use like one of the features, like the check mark thing? Like, how many of you have had an audit class so far? Or I guess put an X if you haven't had it yet. I think if you hit view more options, annotate, and then you'll get the stamps. I know I didn't have audit until my last semester, so I really accepted the job with EY before I knew much about auditing at all. And it's kind of hard to explain without just going into an internship, really. you'll learn a lot in your audit class, but it's still, everything's so much different.
I'm not sure what the check mark thing you're talking about is, but I'm in audit right now to answer your
Oh,
question.
okay.
Yeah, she's thinking the
Are you
annotate
liking
tool.
it so far?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I feel like I won't be able to get a good idea until I get an internship. And I've got a public accounting internship over the summer, so I'm really looking forward to, delving into the public world and seeing what that's like. Because currently I have an industry internship, so I'm looking forward to seeing the differences between the two.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Go ahead, Nathan.
I think it's good that you're expanding on your internships. Like I said, I went from tax and then audit one. Just from my side, as far as like public versus what I see in the private sector, a lot of what, depending on where you go, a lot of what we do is reviewing kind of the stuff that you guys prepare and understanding the processes that you guys go through to ultimately, prepare your financial statements, whether it's walkthroughs or whether we're doing tested details or whether we're doing analytics. Like, our job is to understand what you guys do. So I think that's probably a contrast that you'll see once you get on the other side of things, if your internship is in audit. Do they know how to use the raise hand function? Ashlee or Amanda?
So I think if you hit like where it says you are viewing John Archambault's EY screen, you'll hit view options and annotate, and then there's stamps, like the check mark and the X. I don't really know where the raise hand is.
That's just on like the participant list. I don't know the best way to get everybody to ask questions, like identify if they want to ask a question.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Nathan, because it's in one of my classes. My Management 460 class is on Zoom, but I don't see it on this one. So I don't know if like you have to set it up to have that feature. I'll have to look into that, because that would be a good one to have for this.
You can have them put the questions in chat for now.
Yeah, okay, that would be easier. If somebody's got a question, I'll monitor the chat, and by all means, we want you guys to ask questions. And sorry for the confusion, because it's our first time teaching on or presenting on Zoom.
I accidentally put a thumbs up next to my name, so ignore that. I will say also, like, it depends on when you intern in audit. Like, if you intern between January and March, you're going to get a lot of experience all at once with like the execution stage. And then if you do a summer one, you'll get to see a lot of planning. It's interesting when you work and go through a full audit and see it like from the start to finish.
So I guess we'll continue on. Cole, are you next?
Yeah, this is mine. So I'll go ahead and
you guys drop questions in the chat anytime. Just like Cole, go ahead and I'll monitor it.
Yeah, just go ahead and drop them in the chat. We'll keep an eye out for them. But I'll go ahead and proceed with this. So it's talking about technical development and certification. So working in insurance on any given day, you're going to be faced with situations where you got to work on developing your technical skills. Specifically, there are areas where you're going to have to rely on your knowledge of different accounting principles, auditing standards, regulatory requirements, and things like that to figure out whether what you're looking at is appropriate or not. And, obviously, I think you're probably learning a little bit about this as you're looking up stuff in FASB guidance. And that definitely comes in handy, developing those skills on how to search for stuff and knowing what is relevant. But there's going to be, wherever you go, there's going to be people that are there to help you, and resources that they have that you can look some of this stuff up. But it is a pretty common occurrence for you to be seeing things like this on any given day. So saying expertise in internal controls, a big part of auditing is looking at controls of whatever company that we're auditing. So in looking at that, we're going to the client, we're inquiring them about operations, how things are supposed to go, and we take that and we test it to determine whether that's so. And, you do that a lot, especially at the beginning of an audit. So you're definitely going to be working on developing your skills there. And in doing both of those things, in applying standards and looking at internal controls, you're also developing a deeper understanding of the business that you're looking at. So you're learning a lot about an individual entity that you're working on auditing, and you're also learning a little bit about the industry that it's involved in as well, looking at different trends and stuff as you see fluctuations in different financial figures and whatnot. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into it. But again, there's going to be people there that are going to help walk you through it and teach you how to do it. And there's going to be resources you can lean on in order to work with those. And then in supporting that, at EY, and I think a lot of other firms, but EY, CPA is pretty much expected to, raise through the ranks and help ensure that you're, professionally prepared to, perform an audit and whatnot. And they here at EY provide us the resources in order to test for that. And it's pretty much expected. And then past that, we're required to do mandatory learnings and whatnot, to make sure that we're compliant with different CPE requirements as part of the CPA certification. And then past that, we have what's called EY badges. And this is kind of I'm not super familiar with it. So if any of you guys are more well-versed in it than I, you can jump in on top of it. Basically, it's just another set of learnings that you can do here that they're actually, recognized by different businesses and different industries as standalone accolades that you can add to your resume and whatnot, that you have a certain understanding of areas. And it covers a lot, on a broad level. It covers technology and leadership and business expertise. And when you get further into it, they have sections like analytics, artificial intelligence, blockchain, digital expertise in finance itself, business strategy. So there's a lot of opportunities to develop yourself outside of what's expected with the CPA and different mandatory learnings and whatnot. So go ahead and move on to the next slide. Yeah. So collaborations and connections. Global mindset. That's just touching on how EY is a big network of people, and you're exposed to a lot of different areas. So you really kind of broaden your horizon on different areas, and you have a wide base of people that you can draw on to make different considerations as you're working. Again, like diverse perspectives, high performance teaming. You're working with a lot of different people. I know that I work with a lot of people from the Charleston office mainly, but whenever I first came on, I was working with a team out of Chicago. I worked with some people from Pittsburgh, worked with some people from Detroit. So there's a lot of exposure to different people, and it's a valuable experience to have, getting to see, what their experiences are and what they can bring to the table and what you can bring to the table as well. And then, as part of that, you might develop lifelong relationships, friends, not just coworkers, but people you really get along with and like and connect with, when you're still there or if you move on somewhere else. So move on to the next slide. And exposure to world-class clients. Charleston office isn't quite as glamorous as like a New York or a Chicago or something like that, but you still do get a good exposure to a different range of clients. I think John said he's worked on a few energy clients, and I know both Taylor and I have worked on government, and Nathan's working on natural resource partners. But just in just a little bit over a year here, I've worked in banking, I've worked on a private client that worked in retail, and then I've worked on government. I'm sure that there are some others that are in the future for me. So you get access to see a lot of different things, and you'll find that each one is very, very unique. An audit's an audit, at the end of the day, but there are a lot of different considerations that go into it. It's interesting to see how all these differences really present themselves. There's a variety of work that needs done with each of these different types of clients. Schedules will change. Some are going to be more relaxed, some will be more intense, but it's good experience to be able to see all these different types of entities, and it exposes you to sectors as well, not just specific businesses, but industries like like I've mentioned before. So it's just a great all-around experience for being exposed to different things and figuring out what you really like and what you'll enjoy working in. I'm going to move on to the next slide. Sector experience, we touched on this a little bit, and I touched on this previously. Taylor specifically mentioned FSO, financial services organizations, which primarily audit banks and other different things like wealth and asset management, insurance entities. I know we have a few banks out of the Charleston office, but there's a myriad of different things that you can work on while you're working at EY and insurance in general. So there's a lot of different areas you can see. And then this right here, it just talks about different opportunities that, working in insurance and working at EY can present. Those first two right there are EY specific. That's FAAS is Financial Accounting and Advisory Services. If you're working in FAAS, you're helping financial leaders address different accounting and reporting challenges that they face on a day-to-day basis. Just helping out with that. And then forensic and integrity services, you delve into forensic accounting a little bit, get a little bit deeper into the details, like electronic data analysis. There's a wide myriad of things that go with that. There's a lot of people that shoot for partner, which is a great track to follow. And then, if you want to move on from EY at any point, and in insurance in general, it provides you with a really good base to take skills elsewhere, jump into the C-suite of different companies, become a CFO, become, any number of things that you can think of as you gain expertise in working through insurance, because you see a lot of things, and then, you might even develop enough to where you can go out and start something on your own. So it opens up a lot of opportunities for you in working in insurance. And
I'll go ahead and add to that a little bit. Kind of one thing that I think you learn or you experience in audit is you're kind of promoted at a quicker rate than maybe in certain other positions. Like Taylor's experienced the same thing I have, and so I'm sure John has, and Cole is about to experience those things as they begin their promotions. But 2 to 3 years into a job, and I'm already talking to CFOs and high-ranking accounting managers about their control processes, making recommendations, and conversing with them on certain aspects of their business, which becomes really valuable if you decide to get out of assurance and go into the private sector, and it can be really beneficial to your future career aspirations. Just wanted to add that, so we can continue on. Any questions so far? Not much activity in the chat. All right, y'all can go on.
All right. So now I'll speak in a little bit more detail on the digital audit. I know we've mentioned this several times throughout the presentation, just because this is probably the biggest focus in the firm right now, just moving forward, is increasing our use of this stuff and just integrating technology more and more into our audits. And even like outside of EY, like other accounting firms, and then like corporate businesses, stuff like that. Like everybody's pushing data analytics a lot right now. So I would say, wherever your career path takes you, this is going to be a big thing over the course of our careers. So just a few of the tools that we have at EY are kind of listed out here. EY Canvas is definitely a big one. That's our audit platform, which also serves as our project management tool. And within that, you've got the client portal, which is a highly secure way for the client management to get us documentation. So they really appreciate that. Atlas is another tool that we have. It's basically a database of all of our auditing guidance, and it's got all the firm templates and forms and things like that. So it's kind of a one-stop shop for auditing knowledge. And then finally, Helix, which I know we've mentioned as well. That's our data analytics tool. And we'll kind of go into more detail on Helix in the coming slides. So Helix, basically there's several different, they call them analyzers, that you can use on your audits to help out your team and gain a deeper understanding on different processes. So on the right-hand side here, we list out some of the different uses you can have. So a big one is the second box, the general ledger analyzer. That's something you basically take the client's trial balance and their journal entry detail, and you can run reports within Helix that literally like you can process like all of the client's data or like all of the entries to a certain account, stuff like that within seconds, and get information and reports. They also have at the top, they've got the group scope and interim review analyzers, which I'm not as familiar with either of those, but I know some teams use them. They have subledger analyzers for several different areas, namely trade receivables, trade payables, and inventory. And then they have kind of specific transactions analyzers, which I'm also not overly familiar with those. In my experience with the firm, I've worked on a couple of jobs that use Helix pretty heavily. So we've, with MRC, which is the public client that I work on, we use the general ledger analyzer for journal entry testing. And you can do like a payroll audit program within it. And then we also use the receivables analyzer as well to do our AR and revenue audit. We've kind of dabbled in the payables and inventory analyzers, but we kind of haven't, the cost benefit hasn't really worked out to where we've really utilized them too much so far, but it's definitely something that we might do in the future. So basically the idea of how the data analysis within Helix can help you is that it has usefulness throughout the audit cycle, and kind of the idea behind it is, traditionally before we started pushing data analytics more, a lot of auditing was just like you would get a population, pick your sample, communicate your selections to the client. They would pull a bunch of paperwork, you would look through it, all that. So the idea with Helix is more you can quickly run these reports on the whole population, and kind of if there's anything unusual or unexpected within there, it'll pop, and you can do a lot more highly focused audit that really keys in on those unusual items, and it's less kind of just grunt work of sifting through paperwork, basically looking to see if the T's are crossed and I's are dotted. And it's easier for our clients too, because they can kind of address a few questions that we have as compared to pulling sometimes like hundreds of pages worth of documentation. So it's helpful for them as well, and they definitely see benefit from our use of these tools. So we kind of list out here some other advantages of it. Like I said, it really does allow you to get a complete picture of the data, because you are looking at the entire population, not just a sample. And it can help just provide feedback through focusing you more on areas that are unusual or unexpected, rather than kind of just a totally random sample where you might miss something that is more important. And the reports help with identifying like trends or anomalies in the business processes. I know Cole spoke a lot about how, one of the things we try to expose everyone to at EY is getting a really strong knowledge of their clients and how their business operates. And Helix only helps with that. And like I said, it performs a more efficient audit, both for us as the audit team and the client. So these next few slides, we kind of have little examples, screenshots from some of the Helix reports just to show kind of what they can do. So this report is, they call it the three-way correlation analysis. So this example here is around the revenue process. So basically what you do within Helix is you select your revenue accounts, and then you can select your accounts receivable accounts, and you select your cash accounts, and it analyzes the entire detail out of all those accounts, and it gives you these correlation differences, which in this example, they're both 0, which never happens in real life. But so basically the idea with this is it allows you to see, you know, what percent of your revenue is flowing through to AR, and then what percent of that AR is flowing through to cash. And you can, there's kind of like sub-reports behind this one where you can drill into those correlation differences and you know, perform testing around any reconciling items. And just as an example of how this stuff is actually helpful in real life, on MRC, when we did this revenue program for the first time last year, we actually did discover, so they're a oil field suppliers company, basically. So most of their revenue comes from you know, distributing like pipes and things of that nature to oil and gas companies. But we actually identified that they have a little less than like 1% of their revenue comes from freight that's billed to customers, which we weren't really aware of before doing these Helix programs. So that just allowed us to get a better understanding of their process. And, you know, we were able to perform testing around that and just get a little bit better picture of the audit. So the stuff is does actually provide benefit. It's not just playing around in Excel. So this is another report, the gross margin analysis. So basically, the idea with this report is, once again, you map up your revenue accounts and your cost of sales accounts, and then Helix calculates gross margin by month, which is generally at least a little bit more of a granular detail than you're probably going to get from the client. And you can kind of just look for trends in the gross margin over time. So like in this example here, you know, we see that it's pretty flat, except randomly January, it's a lot higher. So, you know, in this case, you could really focus in on January and try to talk to the client and, you know, figure out what was causing that, which might be things like, you know, seasonality of the company's business or things of that nature. So once again, just the idea is it allows you to get a little bit better understanding of the client's business, and just less time spent in the weeds. So both of those prior screens were from the General Ledger Analyzer, and then this is an example screen from the Trade Receivables Analyzer, which is one of those subledger programs that we have. So this is the customer dashboard report, which kind of covers a little bit of everything. It has stuff like you can track the balance over time, average age of open items. You can look and see what type of transactions make up the data, just things like that. So basically this report is kind of like a catch-all within the tool. So you can look at it and just identify areas where you might have questions. And then there are like more specific reports for each of these items that you can drill into in the areas where you do have questions, just to have better questions that you can ask from the client. So that kind of covers the material that we had prepared. So we'll go ahead and open the floor up to you guys if you have any questions.
Again, questions aren't to be about necessarily the slides. If you guys want to learn about, professional life, audit life, anything you want to know about, now is the time to ask if you have questions going into your career years.
With the Helix, is that just an EY thing, or is that like most accounting firms?
No, that's developed by EY.
Yeah, Helix is an EY developed tool, but I would say there's been a lot of, I would say you would see more of it, as the years go on. Like there are some clients that have switched to EY just because of this tool, whether it's small private clients or it's the larger public clients. So I think this is going to be, although this is a tool, this is going to be the kinds of things that people are looking to accountants and professional services firms to do to help them with their business. So although it's an EY tool, I would imagine other entities are going to start adopting some of these practices no matter where you go.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm sure especially like certainly the other big four, and even I'm sure a lot of like regional and local firms have data analytics tools of their own, not Helix itself, obviously, but similar things.
All right, we got a question from Adam Bales. Taylor, John, I'll let one of you all take this. When you first applied to take the CPA in West Virginia, how long did the approval process take to get permission to schedule?
Well, I actually sat for the exam in Kentucky, so I'll have to kick to Taylor on that one, unfortunately.
So my situation is kind of different because I applied before I graduated from Marshall because I really wanted to take several before I started, which didn't end up happening, but that was my fault. But I got married like 2 weeks after graduating, so then I had to deal with like getting my name changed. But I don't remember it taking very long at all. Like you'll apply and then you'll have to do your intent to sit, and then you'll get a notice to schedule. If it takes longer than a week or two, I would probably reach out and see like if there's a problem or something, because it shouldn't take long.
Adam says thank you.
No problem.
Any more questions out there?
Question. So with all the changes I'm sure that you guys have had since the pandemic, is there anything in particular that you guys really like that was implemented because of the coronavirus that you want to continue on into the future, regardless if there's, a health crisis going on?
That's kind of a tough, it's probably a tough one for me to answer. I'd much prefer to be back in my office and around people. Now, what I will say is the firm has obviously encouraged, to take care of your own personal well-being, whether it's mentally or physically. They've encouraged you to, take time with your family. They have these kind of, not like certain take time off programs, like maybe for a month or two, just for your own well-being. So they've put things in place to help us get through the pandemic. Now, if they continue afterwards, that remains to be seen, because that'd be a different situation. And hopefully by the time you guys are hired and starting your careers, we're out of this situation and not having to deal with it. But those are a couple of the things they've implemented. Other than that, we've just utilized our technology and Teams, and we have, daily, weekly check-ins with clients, and, our own internal team. So there's constant communication going back and forth.
I feel like at the beginning of the pandemic, I liked working from home just because I didn't have to like completely get ready and drive somewhere and then take time to drive back. But then I got over that really quick and then I was ready to go back. But we're still here, but we have a lot of flexibility, I feel like. And I feel like we will in the future too. More like if you need to work from home, you can. Like we've shown that you can do it. I feel like most people prefer to be in person just because it's easier. Like if you sit in an audit room with, if you're a staff and you sit in an audit room with a senior and a manager, you're going to learn a lot just by hearing their conversations that you don't necessarily need to be a part of. So like if you're working from home, you don't need to be on that call and like waste your time. But if you're in an audit room, just hearing their conversations, you're going to learn a lot.
Yeah, kind of echoing of what Taylor said. I think the flexibility of working from home is nice. I think there's definitely some stuff that's missed out on by not being together with your team and having the opportunity to discuss matters with one another, and just being able to socialize with people in general is definitely something that's missed. But yeah, like I know I'm living in Huntington now, so not having to drive to Charleston, 5 days a week if we're having teams gathered there is definitely a plus, but also having the opportunity to do it a couple days a week, when things end up getting back to normal, if that's how things are done, I think that's a promising prospect. And I know with specifically from working, I know that the team that I'm working on right now, we have about like 3 different touch points a week where we just meet and discuss things and hash out any questions we have, which I don't really recall doing much before. So I think communication's actually been at least more formalized. So that has been a positive thing to come out of this. So I'm hoping that continues after things start to return to a more normal status.
What was your guys' biggest hurdle going from a school setting into the accounting workforce?
My general answer to this is I try to tell people to just keep it simple. I know it can be nerve-wracking starting a career, going from professional to student, and the reality is it's not a super hard transition if you just keep it simple. Like if you're a good student, you keep up with your work, you show up to class early or on time, if you got homework and put in the extra hours that you need to, like that's what transitions into a career. Like when you start the firm, we don't expect you to know every accounting standard. We don't expect you to know a bunch of technical accounting. We just expect you to be there on time or early, show up, ask questions, and do the best job that you can do on the task you're handed. So I think if you just keep that focus in mind, then you'll be pretty successful just transferring from a student to a professional.
Yeah, just kind of to echo that a little bit. I always tell people, like, when you're starting out, if you have a good attitude and you're willing to work hard, you're going to be fine. Because we don't really expect you to have a lot of expertise or really understand what's going on when you start. You basically just have to learn by doing a lot of this stuff and just gain experience. Yeah, just if you come in and you're willing to work hard and be part of the team, then you'll do well.
I think it's super similar to student life. Like when you're a student, you have your laptop and you have your homework that you need to do, and you sit on your laptop and you do stuff on it all day. I feel like that's kind of what we do, all our tasks. If you just treat it like homework, it's almost the same thing. The biggest thing, like before virtual, was just like sitting somewhere for like 8 or more hours a day during busy season. And like in college, you have little breaks between classes and like time to like take a nap that you don't have when you go into the professional world.
Yeah, pretty much echoing what Nathan and and John said, I mean, as long as you show up, ready to go and with a good attitude and you're willing to learn about things, I think you'll get on just fine, and like Taylor said, a lot of the skills that you develop while you're in school, while the things that you're looking at in school aren't necessarily going to be exactly what you're looking at in the workforce, things are going to be specific to every place you go to work at. The skills translate. So, develop those while you're there. Just get a good work ethic started, and that'll translate easily.
I'd say about the biggest hurdle you'll face is when, multiple tasks start to pile up and you have to learn to prioritize what's the most important, what's the most time sensitive. So aside from just transitioning good habits from school to professional life, you deal with it some in school because obviously you all have more than one class going on a week and more than one assignment going on. But it's just learn to prioritize important items that you need to do and the timing of those items as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any more questions? Ashlee, if nobody's got anything else, you can hand it back over to you. Or
Yeah, I mean, I don't really, besides like reiterating some of my announcements, everyone keep in mind the community service activities we've got coming up, especially for those of you who are wanting to become members and are needing those hours. And if anything, anyone's hadn't got any questions, always feel free to reach out, email me or one of the other officers. We'll be happy to look into the issue that you're having or answer the question you may have. But no, if you guys don't have any other questions for the guys at EY, I'm good.
all right. Well, thank you guys for having us. Hope you guys have a good rest of your semester and enjoy the holidays that are coming up. So
Definitely. Thank you guys for coming and presenting to us. We really appreciate you guys' support.
no problem.
It's always good to see you all. Thanks.
This is the first we're hearing from you, Amanda?
I've been watching.
At least I didn't forget the chicken nuggets this time.
That is true.
I was relieved of that risk.
That was pretty funny, though, bringing Chick-fil-A without the nuggets.
Yeah, that'll go down as a great story.
Yeah, the odds of that being forgotten are not very good.
Leave it to me to pull it off, though.
Oh, well, it's a great story.
Oh, yeah. Never live it down.
Probably not. Between that and the grilling, that was another funny story for you, too.
Yeah, I got plenty of those in my professional life as well, so to catch up on them sometime.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. So what's the cat's name?
It's Sammy. She always shows up in every call.
I had to ask.